What's up, everyone? This is Trading Shots, where our panelists debate all things CWL, and it's refereed by me. I'm your host, Murky, and I'm the one handing out the points for strong arguments and hot takes. You know how it works. This week, our old ancient friend Maven returns alongside Benson and Pac-Man. Last week, Nameless came take the W from Pac, stopping that back-to-back win. Ben, however, continued his cold streak and remains the king of early exits. And for that, Ben, I'm going to go ahead and just give you a point just to start it off. But how are you guys all doing today?
Thanks,
what?
Joe. Thanks,
well,
Joe.
the guy needs some help.
No more early exits from me.
Did you guys miss me?
No more.
Did you guys miss me last week?
Not at all.
Not at all. No.
Not at all? I miss you a little bit.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you, Joe.
How was the first week of Pro League for you guys? You guys have a good week?
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun.
It's good.
I had a blast. This division's insane. I'm excited to get into the show, and I had a fun time.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and we're going to get right into it. Let's get it going with First Blood. Remember, First Blood is a free-form debate where anything goes. All of our panelists will have an opportunity to answer the question, and throughout that, I will be giving out some points. So here we go. Luminosity had a rough start to the week, dropping series to Reciprocity and UYU. With talent like COD Champ Formal and multi-MVP Gunless stacking the roster, what can this team do to turn their record around? Clint, you weren't hurt last week, so we'll start with you. Clint, what do you think?
Thank you. I know we've talked about the big things this game being roles, teamwork, yada, 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 when we see a team like Midnight excel. But what scares me the most for LG, a lot of times when we see teams as they take a hard loss, they all go to the couches right in kind of the main lobby here within the studio. They sit down, they all chat through it. After a frustrating loss with LG, what bothered me the most, I saw Gunless arguing with, or kind of going back and forth with UYU about what was going on. I saw Formal outside by himself. I saw Slack, I just kind of wandering around. Like they weren't sitting and talking to each other about the issues like all other teams do. I feel like there's something kind of broken internally. These guys are frustrated with each other. They're blaming each other. That's where I think it needs to get fixed. Like something with the core chemistry of this squad seems to be flawed and broken for me. I hated what I saw after their losses. That's a big point for me.
All right, so you just think it just comes down to that team chemistry, right? These guys aren't working together. We've seen how teams have developed throughout these Pro Leagues. Maybe they can turn around on that side. Ben, LG, what do you think they have to do?
I mean, coming in, you looked at the LG squad and you thought, this is a team that's going to win championships. The reality of the fact is, no, they're not, especially not in current form. You look at the teams they played week one. This was an easy week for LG. It was an easier week. Their schedule next week only gets harder. They're 1-5 in Hardpoint. They're 1-3 in Search and Destroy. The irony is somehow they're positive in Control, 2-1, which you think, oh, well, this is going to require more teamwork, but somehow they're making that work, which is a little bizarre to think about. You looked at their subs, and you thought, okay, well, this is clearly the issue. Then their last game against Red, yes, they still end up losing, but still, their subs played a little bit better, and they still end up losing. It's a weird dynamic where you can't quite put your finger on it, but Clint, I'm going to agree with you. I think it's team chemistry. It's the vibe of the team. Something is definitely wrong. I mean, the players, they're on social media. They're kind of subtweeting each other, kind of blaming each other. Yeah. LG, it's not a good camp to me and Joe.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what we thought at the Pro League qualifier around 100 Thieves, right? Yeah. Like, what was the problem? They ended up going with Parista. But back to LG, Pac, what do you think's wrong with them?
This team is compromised. There is no fix to this current roster.
Okay.
There's no way around it. They need to make a change. They need to do it quickly. Over this course this weekend, there's nothing they could do to go improve their team. They can go home and play 10 hours a day. The problem is not their individual talent. They're the most talented roster on paper, arguably now we could say. They're the most talented roster on paper, and they are struggling too much. They're broken. They're broken. They don't work. They have to figure out a way to make a move so that their players can be comfortable. It's not working right now. I think that they're going to need to replace 2 players on their team. They can't do 100 Thieves and replace 1. Their core issue will still remain. They're going to need to replace more than 1 player. I don't know who that player is, who those players have to be, but something has to happen. That team just can't work as is.
I mean, you look at the team KDs. Obviously, KD's not everything, right? You have Formal and Gunless, and then you have the other 3 sort of at the bottom. So I have one more question about LG. We know what you said, Ben, that they had a bit of their easier schedule last week. Coming up, they have to play ATRO Gaming. Yep. They have to play Midnight, EG, and Genji. My question to you guys, what record do they need to acquire to maybe allow this roster to feel some safety? Clint, what do you think? What does their record need to be?
I think they've got to try and get 3 wins on the board. That's the way I look at it. And what's interesting, though, when you think about this team, what's scary about it, though, is as much as we're knocking them, as much as we've been going at LG, we all have been, if they come in and get like a win on Monday, if they get a first win on the board, don't you think that they could just roar behind it? Like, is it impossible for LG to get 4 games next week?
No.
I think if they get one win and they start to click and suddenly it's not everyone down on each other, there's some smiles, some camaraderie, fist bumps out. I think they could turn it around. No, I think they can. They have enough skill to do it. That's just they need a win. They need a win. They need something to chalk up to and be like, oh God, oh here's a reminder. Oh, we are some of the best players in Call of Duty. Wow, we know how to play the game again. Like it could a switch could flip. It could, but I think you need 3.
Yeah, I think that's sort of been the big thing with individual talented players that we talk about with Luminosity. Sometimes it's just that you need one win. Maybe they can get the ball rolling. Maybe that confidence in one another, because that seems to be the issue, right? A lot of trust issues. Ben, you're disagreeing with Clint, though. What do you think?
He made the same argument that you'd make over 100 Thieves. Oh, when it clicks, it'll be fine. Well, it never clicked, and look what happened. They had to make a change. They had to bring in Priesta. You look at what they need next week. They're going up against the top 3 teams and EG. EG hasn't won a series. They're 0-3, 1-9. But bear in mind, their schedule week 1 was the top 3 teams. So we don't really know what we're going to get from EG looking at week 2. But you look at that as the series where, all right, this is LG's best chance. And I believe they do play them first as well. So to your point, Clint, they should maybe start with a win. And if they do, you still have to play the top 3 teams in the division.
Who would you say of the teams that have struggled, who has the most upside? Like, who has the highest ceiling that could improve? It's LG.
Sure.
They have the highest upside.
Okay, because they have the best players on their team. But the point is,
I'm saying
they're
could happen.
underperforming right now.
I think thinking it's impossible is insane. I think they could turn it around.
You think they go 3-1 next week?
No, I think they need to be happy. Do I think they go 3-1? No, I do not. But I think it's possible. I think it's impossible is insane. Like, just look.
I think it's impossible.
All right, you two are going at it. Pack, we haven't heard from you. What is the record?
Because no one cares what you think.
What is the record?
There's a different.
That was rude, Clint. I'm sorry.
There's different ways to look at this, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I think they need 2 wins, but those 2 wins have to be against the right teams. So if Dashy comes back next week, if they beat that Optic team and say Midnight, those are 2 key wins. If they beat EG and Genji, it's not the same thing if they lose to an Optic without Dashy and then they get slaughtered by Midnight. That's still a struggle. They beat the right teams with the right players here. You can keep that roster together. Like, we beat Optic at full strength. We beat Midnight, who's looking like one of the best teams in the world. We can do this. We can figure out how to make it work.
If they go 4-0, this team might stay together. They don't. I think
if they go 4-0, they'll stay together.
I think if they
Good call. If they go undefeated next week,
but do you think that's the only way they stay together? I think it's the only way they stay together.
I think they can go 3-1. I really like Pack's point, right? Yeah. You talk about the rivalry with Optic Gaming. If they get a win there, we know what it could do for them. You get a win over Midnight, how hot that team has been. I think I agree with Pack. What they could do, where the wins come in. Now, however, if they do go like 2-2 and lose to Genji and EG, maybe it doesn't help too much. I think 3-1 has to be the goal for Luminosity. That's going to do it for First Blood. Let's take a look at the scores so far. Ben, you're in first place at 5, but I did give you a +1. You know,
I appreciate it.
Pac-Man with 4. Clint, you lost a point, so that's a little tough. Just don't be rude to the other panelists. And that's going to do it for First Blood. Now let's get into Quickscope. Quickscope, it's a hard 30 seconds to give me your best answers for this rapid-fire round of questions. We're going to start with Midnight Esports as they continued their hot streak from the Pro League qualifier into the first week of Pro League. They took matches off of Red Reserve, 3-0'd Optic with Zuma. They toppled UIU and now sit 4-0 in the division. Guys, the question is, if CWL Fort Worth was tomorrow, where do you have Midnight placing? Clint, you're in last. We're going to start with you.
Thank you very much, Joe.
You're welcome.
All right, I would put Midnight in the top 4, honestly. And this team right now reminds me a little bit of like team caliber from last year. They seem to be ahead of the curve when it comes to kind of teamwork and how to actually play the game. A lot of the teams that seem to be struggling. The teamwork's off. There's a bit of a role issue, and they haven't been clutching up in the big moments. And that describes everything the TK was doing properly last year. Midnight, for whatever reason, gives me that feeling. And they've shown now they're, 10-0 on land that they've now been able to do between the Pro League qualifier and now the Pro League. I have a lot of faith in this Midnight team. I think they can do it. Top 4.
All right, Maven is done. Pac-Man, you're up next. What do you think about Midnight? Where would they place if Fort Worth was tomorrow?
Here's the thing. We've only seen Midnight play well in this Columbus studio.
Okay.
We've never seen them do it at an open event, and I think when you have Ben sitting in the crowd making Red Reserve chants, Optic fans screaming at every single kill that Karma gets, it can get you shook. I'm putting their ceiling at top 6. I would predict them top 8 right now. A top 8 placing at a Midnight. They just haven't done it in an open setting, and it gets a lot harder to do it in front of the crowd. We haven't even seen them play both divisions. They can get second in their pool, end up playing a team like United or Splice first, lose that match. Anything can happen in open setting.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of big dogs that they have to play, right? So we'll see what happens with Midnight. Ben, if it was tomorrow, Where do you have them placing?
So the first thing, if it's tomorrow, Dashy isn't on Optic Gaming, so that's something to consider.
All right, let's consider
boo.
Dashy
Said if it was
back.
tomorrow, Joe.
Oh, no.
Said if it was tomorrow.
I'm with Ben.
All right, fine.
You've already wasted 10 seconds, Ben.
All right, that's fine. Even if Dashy's there, it doesn't matter. You take a look at the top 4 from Vegas. Who was it? Optic, E United, Splice, LG. Well, they're already better than LG, that's for sure. So that's a guaranteed top 3, at least in my mind. But I will say Pac's completely right. They haven't really faced true adversity. They've sensed it in terms of a micro way, in terms of 100-point comeback and hard point, but we've never seen them do it against an Optic Gaming crowd. And Joe, you know, it can be very different.
It absolutely can. When that green wall is on your side, it's one of the best feelings in the world. But I want to see them play the likes of Splice and a United. 100%. There's still a lot of teams that can test this midnight roster, but that's going to do it for them. On to our next topic. We already spoke about LG's performance, but I got to know, which team disappointed you the most the first week of the Pro League? Pac, we're going to start with you.
It's just the obvious answer, and it's the right one. We have to go with LG. They had too easy of a week to go 0-3. They looked miserable. They won one search, and the search that they won was against UIU, who hasn't beaten anyone in search. And then they got obliterated by that team in the respawns. How do you get destroyed by a team in respawns with Gunless, Formal, and John on your team? They just look miserable to me, and it's tough to see. I really don't know what they need to do, but they got to do something. It's a disappointing week for them for sure.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Ben? What are you thinking about who disappointed you the most the first week?
You know, I'd love to sit here and say EG going 1-9, but Joe, it's just not the right answer.
You don't think EG being 1-9, that's not disappointing?
No, because they played the top 3 teams. It has to be LG. I hate agreeing with the fellow panelists, but that's the only answer that you can give that's correct. 1-5 hardpoint, 1-3 search and destroy, 2-1 control. That's numbers which simply aren't good enough. You look at individual stats. I mean, Slacked. I don't know what was going on there. Some of the grab slams as well. If you want to go super specific, I saw one good grab slam out of
I saw a couple
the whole time. I only saw one. Maybe you casted them a few more times than I did. But for me, he has to improve. He isn't playing well enough. He's not playing at Pro League level.
All right, so Ben, he's going after Slacked at his grab slams. Clint, who disappointed you the most?
I'm going to have a different answer because I think
you.
there was some expectation that LG could have a slow start since they haven't played since Vegas, right? You expected maybe the Pro League qualifier teams to come in. They were able to play for a week on LAN. There were a lot of strong performances. A team that I actually expected to do really well, and a lot of the players were hyping up on Hot Mic was Team Reciprocity. I expected them to come in. I thought they were going to be better than Red Reserve. I expected them to make a good run. And unlike LG, who's just looked awful, Reciprocity has had moments where they look really good. That's the most frustrating part. They're just not closing out series. I think Reciprocity could easily be 3-1. The fact they're 1-3 is actually startling to me.
Yeah, I think you're right. When you watch some of those hard points, Zed and Tommy, the way they performed throughout the week, it's been pretty crazy.
And like LG is like almost look bad every map outside of like one. Like Reciprocities look really good in spots. They just can't close out series.
30 seconds.
I'm cheating.
It's all good.
I'm sorry.
I think I agree where Reciprocity is a team where if they close out things, it looks a lot different in that record book. But on the flip side, I want to know, we focused on the teams. Now I want to focus on the individuals. Ben, we're going to start with you. Which individual player surprised you the most?
Now, on a team point, I didn't go for EG, but on a player point, you almost have to. Out of the bottom 10 players individually, they're all 5 of EG full, so it's abysmal. I look at Facento. Now, the big thing for Facento was at the PLQ, he played so well. I believe it was a 1.11 at the PLQ for Search and Destroy. It's now a 0.45. It was a 1.11 at the PLQ for Respawn. It is now a 0.71. He is crumbling. Mr. 235, well, you look at control, a 0.69 is his control KD. It's not good enough. Mr. 235, where is 235, Joe? It doesn't exist.
Yeah, it may not exist.
Come on, Bryce.
I think the big thing with EG is the question is they handled teams at the Pro League qualifier, but against the best teams in the world, they are struggling individually. Maven, which individual surprised you the most?
This is kind of a strange answer, but I'm actually going to go with Karma. You know, when we talked about the sub coming in with Zuma, you were wondering who was going to step it up. I thought it was probably going to be TJ or Scump that were going to go off. We haven't talked about Karma being the hard carry from a statistics standpoint since like Black Ops 2. He's kind of been the X factor, the guy that usually doesn't have the prettiest stats, but he has gone off. He's been leading the way for Optic Gaming in a time where they really need someone to go off, fill the gaps, make big plays because of the position they're in with the sub. I guess I'm just very surprised that Karma was the guy that really turned up. He's been incredible. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, he was nuts. GOAT.
Being surprised by a 3-time world champion is crazy, by the way.
Well,
did you think he was going to be the guy within the squad that was leading the way? I personally didn't. I was surprised.
Yeah, I think I was a little bit as well. Just the way he was playing, right? He was getting 2 to 3 kills at a time, which was so important on the map.
That's why I said it was weird, though, because you are talking about the greatest player.
Well, there's just a lot of great players on that team. Even Krim stepped up big time when they needed him in that ICR role. Pac-Man, though, which individual surprised you the most throughout the first week?
For me, the most surprising player has to be John, and here's why. John was one of the 3 superstar subs coming into this season. It's Kenny, TJ, John, maybe Cuke. Those are the guys that everyone was trying to team with. John's a superstar player. Everyone knows about his Treyarch prowess, one of the best players in each Black Ops title. And he has a .86 AKD. It's just not good enough for a player of his caliber. We expect him to do so much more. There's players that are doing worse, but someone like John is supposed to be a superstar, not an average player. He has to do better.
Yeah, I think obviously when you look at LG, a lot of people are giving a lot of slack to Slacked or Classic, but John right now is just straight up underperforming in his role. But that's to do it for that. Let's take a look at the schedule for next week and who has the best chance to improve. And what you can see on Monday, we have some great matches, UIU and EG. LG versus Genji. We talked about LG and their tough schedule in the next week. Looking at some other ones. We're going to end that Thursday. It's going to be a fun one on Valentine's Day, by the way, with ATRO Gaming and Luminosity. Midnight, we talked about how, well, maybe this might be a lighter week for them. They do have 3 matches. They had 4. Now they have Reciprocity, LG, and Genji. Could be another great week for Midnight. So, guys, I got to know, who do you think has the best chance to improve based on this? Pac, we'll start with you.
I gotta go with Evil Geniuses. We talked about how LG, after their losses, they weren't getting together and talking about it. EG was. I saw them walking around together. They don't seem to be angry with one another. They're just trying to figure it out. They have Rev and they're getting together, going over what they're doing wrong. I think that this week is significantly easier. And if Vicento can step up and they can get the slaying together, I feel like it's only Exotic right now. They can get that together with this and come out with an early win on Monday. We can see a strong week at EG. Their schedule's so much easier. A couple wins, and they get right back on the horse.
All right, so pass going for EG. Maven, you're up next. Who do you think has the best chance to improve?
So he's using the matches, right? EG gets their schedule is easier. I still think EG is very good. I think their ceiling is very low for me. I don't think they have that much potential to make that much noise based on what we've seen. I'm actually going a weird route with this. I think it's going to be LG. LG's schedule actually gets harder, but I think they come in Monday. I think they beat Genji on Monday, and that is the point where LG turns things around. LG is going to go 3-1 next week with one of the hardest schedules, and LG is going to get it done. Well, mark my words. LG 3-1. They beat Genji Monday. It's going to happen.
That's going to be enough.
Yeah,
that
has to be
I didn't
negative
give him a
points.
lot. I did not give him a lot.
That should be negative points.
I don't. It's just going to be tough.
Watch, Ben, when it happens, then we'll talk.
He's not that good.
When it happens, Genji is going to lose Monday. LG, they're going to do it. They go 3-1.
Mayhem literally looked like Dashy against LG.
Watch.
All right,
Watch.
well, you guys look very stressed out, Ben.
Nostradamus.
Ben, I think you have a different answer.
Yes.
Ben, what do you think? Who has the chance to turn it around?
I mean, when you say chance to turn it around, you have to look at schedule. It's the most important thing. EG played the 3 hardest teams in week 1. Yes, they go 1-9, but I'm not really looking too much into it. It's disappointing, sure, I will concede. But their schedule for week 2 is so much easier. We're talking about a team that was above 500 in all 3 game modes, hardpoint control and search and destroy at the PLQ. They're going to improve. They're going to get better. Revan, as Pac said, is always talking to the players, always trying to help them improve. The fact you said LG, are you out of your mind?
So what's going to happen when they go 3-1?
They have a harder schedule.
Is everyone going to apologize to me?
3-1.
Is everyone going to apologize to me?
No, I'm not. No, they have a harder
to you.
Okay.
schedule. Their schedule gets more difficult.
I don't worry about. I don't think the schedule matters with a team like LG because it
certainly does.
It's an inner team thing. It's an inner team thing with them. If they can get the vibes right, get one win on the board. If they turn the LG we know and love, they're going to smoke people.
I'm enraged that you're not last after that.
Yeah, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
All right, well.
I'm not last?
Quayscope.
You can make me last. You're right.
Let's check the standings, and, we'll see who is in the lead after Quayscope and First Blood. I believe it's Benson and Maven, the old guys, the old duo, going to go at it in the grand finals.
Like that, you may as well just leave now because this is
When they're 3-1, when they're 3-1, I expect
must
you
have been god-awful.
to buy me a spa day where I can go get a nice massage, a manicure, a pedicure, cool.
Deal.
And if I'm wrong, you don't get anything.
All right, so, we already have a bet on the line as well in the grand final, but as you can see, unfortunately, that's going to put Pac-Man in third. You got any last words today, Pac?
I must have been abysmal. Because Maven wasn't making any sense, and I got 3rd place. I'll be better.
That's probably because I'm better.
upset.
That's because I'm better looking.
I mean, I don't know if that's true at all. It's time for the grand finals. Let's get into it. It's down to 2. The originals, Benson and Maven. And as you all know, within the grand finals, the winner, if you do end up winning, will enter the Smack Talk Winner's Circle presented by ATRO Gaming. We've seen former champs not playing to their full potential, but we've also seen rookies knock their opponents out of the park. Some have to maintain their performances, some have to pick up the pace. What I want to know, what player is under the most pressure after week 1? Ben, you're in the lead. You're up first. Go ahead.
Okay, in terms of player that is under pressure, has to be Slacked. It just does, man. It's become a little bit of a meme all of a sudden. If you watch any of the rebroadcasts, all you see in the Twitch chat is, haha, Slacked, oh, Grav Slime, Omega, lol. Some of his Grav Slimes have been just that bad, if I'm honest. But if you want to talk about improvement and where he was at, obviously LG at Vegas finished top 4. And statistically, it's been a massive, massive decline for him. In search, he was above positive at Vegas at 1.18. Now he's struggling so badly at 0.74. I don't know where that collapse has come from. LG as a whole have struggled, and it's kind of become a bit of an LG show, if we're honest, but rightfully so. This is a team full of MVPs, full of champs, and they're struggling, and they shouldn't be. Slacked, I don't know what is going on, but you need to improve.
All right, so
Okay.
as you said, you're going after Slacked. Maven, what do you think?
I'm going to take a bit of a different angle here because I think the reason it's a different type of pressure because Slack has pressure, yes, but if Slack gets dropped, guess what? Slack will be on another pro team. I'm going to talk about somebody like Denz. Denz takes a gamble, right? He's the lone APAC player that is left. Denz goes to Team Reciprocity. He's now living in the States. His whole life has been upturned. If he doesn't make this work, and Reciprocity's 1-3. I said they were one of my most disappointing teams. He's bottom 2 in KD on the team and hasn't been performing the way we know he does. If Denz were to get dropped, if a change were to happen with Reciprocity, do you think Denz is on another Pro League team? I don't know if he is. And that's why I think the pressure is a lot more on him. This is his livelihood at stake. If you are Slacked and something goes wrong, you are on another pro team if you were dropped. 100,000%. I don't know if that's the case with Denz.
I mean, even if Slacked gets dropped, he's not going to become on a championship winning team.
He could, though. He could, though.
No,
he absolutely could.
With those numbers and the performances
he could still
right now,
get on a top team.
No.
Slack has enough consistent history with his performances. He could get on a team.
Name the top 4 teams right now, Clint.
Oh, wait, from just looking at
Just
Vegas,
in
Optic,
your-
United, Splice, LG.
Do you see him getting on any of those?
He may not get one of those teams, but he's still
So then
going to
he's
get
not
a
gonna
Pro
win a
League team.
championship.
The pressure is absolutely different, though. There's a difference between being on a Pro League team that has a chance at a championship versus not even being in the Pro League and not competing in Call of Duty Esports.
No, I agree with that. I'm not going to dispute that. Denz a lot of pressure.
And he's got added pressure because he's the lone APAC guy. He's got to feel a little bit like all his buddies, all the other players are watching for him, rooting for him. He's got to feel a different sense of pressure.
I honestly think that Denz right now, yes, he's underperforming a little bit statistically, but he's playing with Reciprocity. Reciprocity is a team who we've seen when they go toe-to-toe with some of the better teams are playing well. I don't think Denz is stressing too much right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I think he's sat poolside in Vegas with the boys. He's actually in Columbus, Ohio. But you get the idea.
But
I don't think he's stressed.
But to that point, though,
Slack is stressed. The
I
entire
don't know if he
community-
is. To that point with Slack. Okay, Joe,
Clint.
Joe, how many times has Slack been in this position where he's the scapegoat with the team and everyone's talking about him? He has been one of the most, I guess, hated or frowned upon players as a scapegoat by the community and fans for so long.
Not like this.
Dude,
Not like
basically, since I've been casting Call of Duty, that's
not like this. The entire community. You just have to look at the subreddit.
Dude, if you think that is new.
No, I'm not saying it's new. What I'm saying is the entire focus of the community after week 1 has been on LG's poor performances and specifically on Slack.
I think there needs to be more focus on Reciprocity, honestly. I think we've been focusing so much on LG, maybe we haven't focused on them enough.
But there isn't. What I'm telling you is what is in the current, not what should be, what is the current. LG are struggling, and the main focus is on Slack. His stats have just plummeted.
You are insane if you think
Denz's
Slack's
stats are
more
roughly the
pressure or
same.
something like that.
Denz's stats haven't fluctuated. Slack's stats have. It's a reason LG are in the position they are is because of how poor he has played.
All right, guys, so you both had some very unique answers, and, well, we could take a look at the scores and who's going to be our winner of this show, and I believe it's going to be Benson by 1. My reasoning for this, when you discuss both of these players, I like where you both went with it. Obviously, Denz has a lot of pressure on him, but here's the thing with Slacked. If he has a bad week next week, I think all 3 of us agree he is off that team.
Yep.
If Reciprocity has a bad week next week, I think we all agree it's going to take a lot for them to break up. That team seems more like a family than LG. They all have moved here. They have their visas. They're going to give them another shot. He'll at least get to Fort Worth. I think if Slacked has a bad week, he will not be on Luminosity at Fort Worth. And that is why, Benson, you're going to the Smack Talk Winner Circle presented by ATRO Gaming. As the champion for the week, your prize is 60 uninterrupted seconds to say whatever you want to whoever you want. Put on that golden headset. Your time starts now.
Oh, it feels so good.
Oh, wow.
So good to be back right here.
Uninterrupted.
60 seconds uninterrupted. First of all, I will say, Clint, it's good to have the old duo. The old duo back, exactly where they belong. Pac-Man, I don't know how you lost to him this week, but you've got to step up. I want to bring Nameless back on so I can try and beat him as well. It feels good to get the first win on the season as well. I believe you haven't actually won anything yet. So we'll see if you're able to do that next week. But in terms of who I really want to go at, this may surprise a lot of you. This may surprise. I could sit here and go at LG once again, but it's too easy. It's too easy at this point. You've got to play better. Everyone knows that. Revan, my old duo. My old duo. What's going on, pal? You leave me for this? You left for this, Revan? For this? For this sort of a record with EG? It's not good enough, Revan. If you don't step up, our friendship could be toast. It could be over. This is embarrassing. You're giving all casters a bad name as a coach. You got to be better, Revan. You got to be better.
All right, Ben. So I'm a little surprised going after your old duo, Revan and EG. Obviously not the best week for them. Yeah, I know you still have a lot of love for him. But let's go ahead and take a look at our standings. Let's bring up that graphic. Who's got the show wins? And I believe it's pretty even throughout. Maven, you're still at 0. Ben, you're at 1. Pac at 1. Nameless, he's not on this show, so he's at 100%. He's feeling good.
I'm giving these guys a head start.
I get it. That's a long year.
I won last year so easily. I'm just letting them get a little start.
I get it. I don't know if that's true. I think you got some competition this year.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, and
I'm far more intelligent than my rivals.
Yeah, we'll see about that. That is going to do it for Training Shots. Pro League continues tomorrow after Hot Mic. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week.